What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the RedBeard Outdoors podcast. I'm Jonathan, your host, and today for one of the second to last episode of this entire year, we've been doing why first Phorm Outdoors, why first Phorm. And we have Kyle Herbers, who won this year's November Knockdown Finals. He was one of the finalists, and then he ended up winning it all in the November Knockdown Finals in, I think it was May or March, something, the beginning of this year, that he ended up winning it overall out of the 10. It was either 10 or 11. I can't remember if it was 10 or 11, but 10 men competitors that came out from across the nation, literal CrossFit athletes and people of that caliber were out there, and Kyle took it away with some amazing performances out there. But more than that, I want you guys to get to know who Kyle is, what he loves, how he came from kind of middle of nowhere Florida to win the November Knockdown Finals, and who he is. So I'm really blessed and excited to be able to have this opportunity to have you on as one of the second to last episode here of this year's Why First Phorm Outdoors special episodes that I've been doing here on the podcast. So for people that don't know, I'm just going to kind of say a couple things here about Kyle. So Kyle actually reached out to me before last year's November Knockdown. It was probably 2 or 3 years ago, that we were talking about just, he likes to nerd out on gear like I do. And so, it's funny to see his bow when he showed up at the November Knockdown Finals, because we had talked about the dialed archery sight. We talked about the Quattro archery bars. He's shooting a Matthews, which is, it's okay. Hoyt's better. No, I'm kidding. But outside of that, it was just cool to see the things that we had discussed as far as gear and how much of a gear nerd Kyle is, dialing in his setup and how well he shot. On top of that, I honestly, for some reason, didn't realize Kyle, social media and the internet makes you feel either like, some people think that I'm taller sometimes for some reason. I'm not, guys. I'm about 5'10". I'm average height, your average Irishman over here. And then you've got Kyle, who I thought was average height as well, but jacked. And he's not. He's like 7 feet tall and just a giant of a human, and crushing the workouts here. So with that being said, it was cool to meet you in person, man, and get to know you a little bit more after we've been talking off and on for social media for a couple years, just about gear things. And so talk to us, I guess, first of all, who are you, for people that don't know who you are? And what describes Kyle? Who are you?
Well, first off, I'm a husband. Second off, I'm a father to 3 beautiful kids. But first and foremost is that I am a son to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So, I would give all the glory to Jesus for everything that I've been blessed with in my life. And I've been blessed with a lot of things, right? So, I live in Fort Myers, Florida, one of the most beautiful places in the country. And it's amazing here. I met my wife here 2 months after I ended up moving down here from Georgia. And within 2 years, we were engaged and we were married. And I haven't left ever since. And that was 14 years ago now. So, it's been a while. And the ride that I've been on in the last 14 years is something I could have never imagined. What the Lord has blessed me with, it's indescribable. And I came into bow hunting just because I wanted to shoot a bow, right? Now, I literally bought it just to shoot it in my front yard for something to do. And then it turned into a buddy asking me if I want to go on a hunt with him. So I went on a hunt with him, and then I'm like, dude, this is awesome. Like, this is a lot of fun. And I've always been in fitness since 2005. I've been in fitness. I've always been into working out. And that's one thing that I kind of personally align very strongly with First Phorm and First Phorm Outdoors is the concept of getting outdoorsmen and hunters into fitness, and more so not just your Western guys, but also your Midwest guys, because no offense to any Midwest whitetail hunters, but the stigmatism is you sit in a tree stand, you eat Little Debbie's and you drink Bud Light, right? That's the thing. But it's yeah, that's great and all, but you're leading the ones who look up to you, your kids, yeah, let's go hunting, but then we're also going to drink beer and eat like crap. No. Life is more than that. We are hunting these amazing animals that provide us the best source of protein on earth. Let's become better men and better human from hunting, from the outdoors. So I think I got a little off course on your question, but I mean that's basically who I am. I'm very passionate when it comes to my Lord and Savior. I'm very passionate when it comes to my family and with everything outdoors and fitness related to outdoors.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's something that really struck me, again, getting to know you via social media and then talking to you in person, and I've even I snapped a picture and I think I sent it to you when, behind the scenes, you kind of know there was a really tight race between the top three competitors, and the other two guys were literal CrossFit athletes, like to the point where they qualified for nationals
Dude,
type
it's
of
mind
CrossFit
blowing.
athletes.
Mind blowing.
Yeah. And you do the Mountain Tough programming, which is another great programming, but it is at home, and the discipline that it takes for you to do that at home during your time when you're not taking care of your family and working, etc. That takes a lot of discipline in and of itself. But you were competing against top level athletes and seeing how everything was panning out, which again, all 10 of the men athletes were doing amazing, but there were three that stood out. And I genuinely was thinking that Luke was going to be the one that took it and you were going to come in a close second. That's what I was thinking just from what I was seeing. And then as we got closer towards the end, I was like, all right, I think I'm wrong here. I think Kyle's going to end up walking away with this. And when we found out the end results, and we're sitting there at the announcement, and I'm sitting there, and I had when they were about to announce the men, I was kind of keeping an eye. I didn't want to make it obvious, but right as they were about to announce it, I made sure to look over at you and snap a couple pictures because your reaction, you didn't walk into it cocky. You weren't in there thinking, I've got this in the bag. You were genuinely shocked and humbled by the fact that you won. And I love that reaction. Like, it took a second for it to sink in. You didn't go running up to the front because you already knew any of that stuff. You literally, your hand, I remember your hand was resting because, again, you're 7 feet tall. Your hand was resting on the shade tent, one of the rafter little crossbars. It was resting on that, and that smile that just came over your face was so genuine, and you could tell like you just really appreciated that moment. So kind of walk us through, let's build up to that moment as to your training just from social media, participating in the November knockdown. Last year it was a little bit more of a competition. This year it was more including everyone, making sure, sorry, my dog thinks he's a guard dog
Oh,
here.
you're fine. Not a problem.
Making sure that everyone felt included this year, and it wasn't so much a direct competition like it was last year. And so, but last year was competition timed. You had to do very stringent videos and make sure you had every rep counted, and we had people reviewing those videos, especially for the top competitors. And so walk us through that, just from competing online, and what you were expecting whenever you did those weekly challenges.
The weekly challenges, I didn't really know what to expect at first. Going into it, I really didn't know anyone that was really doing it. I had talked to Jeff Cordero a couple times through social media. We kind of linked up, kind of like I linked up with you. And he kind of like was like, hey, they're like, this is kind of what the workouts are. Like, they're usually short. They're typically all body weight. And last year they were pretty much all at 20 yards. So I kind of had an idea. And going into it, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do my normal workouts and my normal strength stuff. Then at the end, I'm just going to use those basically as my aerobic sessions. Well, that turned into me no longer doing my strength sessions and me literally just doing these workouts back to back to back until I got perfect. And I mean, when it comes to working out, I like to do things by the book. I like to do things best of my ability. And I mean, I was getting to the point to where all the workouts were four shots. You basically had 4 arrows for every single shot, 4 rounds. If I didn't get somewhere close to either a negative shot or like a +5 seconds, I would stop. I'll stop right then and there. I'm like, nope, I'm redoing this. I mean, it got to the point to where I think it was the first one that had the squats, jump squats, lunges, and jump lunges where like I could barely feel my legs by the time I was like getting done with these workouts because I was doing them like I would do them, I'd finish. I'm like, okay, I'm going to wait 5 minutes. And then I would end up going like 3 minutes later. I'd get halfway through the workout, can't feel my legs. So like, and after the first week, the scores came out and I was fortunate enough to be in the top 10 on the first week. I was like, okay, cool. Then I saw like Justin Rhodes and Jacob Hetner. And so I started reaching out to those guys because I saw they trained together. And I even started talking to Jacob and Justin from there on out. Like for the next 3 weeks, like we were talking to each other almost every day. Like, hey, what was your time? Hey, what about this? Hey, what about that? So I mean, we were in constant communication. So with how fit those guys are, it gave me a good sense of where I needed to be. And I knew I wasn't going to win any of them. When it comes to a lot of those body weight workouts, like squats, I have a long way to go. Like Justin, for instance, doesn't have that far to go, right? So I knew I wasn't going to be at the top, but I knew that I could pick up some time with shooting. So, I mean, I'll be honest with you, by the end of the 4 weeks, I was like, man, I'm ready for this to be over. Like, I'm ready for this to be over. I'm so sick of doing these workouts because it was all I was doing. I was doing each workout probably anywhere between probably 5 to 8 times a day. And then once I got a time I liked, and like after talking to like Jacob and Justin, I'm like, okay, like I have a good time. I don't need to do it anymore. And then I'll usually rest the remainder of the week until the next one came out.
That's awesome.
So when everything was settled, I mean, we waited all of December. I mean, that was a miserable December. I mean, I had some nights where I couldn't sleep because I'm like, shoot, I hope I did enough. I hope my videos were good enough. I hope like this, I hope that. I was like, I just hope I make it. Like my goal going into it was just to qualify for the final event. I didn't care about anything else. I just wanted to qualify. So that was really my main goal. And I had such a fun time doing those online workouts. It was a blast, man. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. And, it's interesting because, hearing your perspective, then you've got, Clint Kingston there was some that he was doing the same thing, whereas 5 to 10 times a day doing the workouts just so that you could, yeah, he really is. He puts his head down and grinds, that's for sure. And so, being able to see that and all the time. And I love that you recognized your weaknesses compared to your competition, and you stepped it up in other ways. You controlled the controllables. You obviously can't control how long your femurs are, but you can control how well you shoot,
Yeah.
And so that's something that's really cool. And I want to highlight for people, just because, again, there's going to be times where maybe you're short, you're tall, maybe you naturally are skinny, maybe you're naturally chubby or whatever. There's going to be things that you can't control based on genetics or whatever it may be, but there are other things that you can put in the work and make the changes still happen that you want to happen. So obviously, suffer through December, you finally found out whether you made it or not, and you find out that you make it out there, you get your travel arrangements and everything. Let's talk about your first experience at First Phorm and how that went, going to headquarters and meeting the crew there.
That place is incredible, man. I was blown away. Like, not only by how nice it is, but just like everyone there, like the people are just above and beyond. They're just fantastic there. Then you step foot in the gym, you're just blown away. Anything you could want. I mean, if you're a fitness enthusiast, if you're someone that loves fitness, like it's your playground. Like that's where you want to go to hang out. Like it was so nice. And then the cherry on top was when we went in the locker room and we all have our own lockers. Like that was so cool, man. Like that locker room was such a cool experience. And like you felt the love. You felt everything that you've put in, all the work that you've put in over the last year, like what it cultivated to. Like you're like, man, like this is why I work so hard day in and day out for moments like this. I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I truly felt special. And I turned to Skylar. He was in the locker next to me. And I said to him, I was like, all right, I'm good. I can go home now. I've already had an amazing experience. Like it just started out like just completely amazing. I was like, I'm good, man. I'm like, I don't need to do anything else. Like being here in this gym, being here surrounded by these people, seeing these amazing locker rooms, the red carpet they rolled out for us, like I'm good. Now I'm here to compete, but I'm more or less just here to have a good time and meet some great people and suffer with a bunch of good dudes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
Place is
And
amazing.
they really do roll out the red carpet. They put specialized, like you kind of get the general things that everyone got, whether it be in this case it was a bunch of the sponsors that put up, bino harness and some gift cards for broadheads and arrows and things like that. But then there's also the personal touches that are put in there from, pictures of your family or scriptures or beard oil or whatever it is that they know that they'll scour your social media and talk to if you work with First Form at all or people that have talked to you, they'll reach out to those people and find out things that would be meaningful for you to fill your locker while you're there, which I think that's amazing. That's above and beyond. It's not just some warehouse that packs and ships supplements. It's a legitimate environment that makes you want to be a better version of yourself. It's super clean and very well taken care of. You can tell they respect the privilege of being there as well. So all of
Absolutely.
that, you got your locker, got to work out in the gym and everything, and then you competed during those days. They were not the best weather on all those days. I think you blew your shoes out the first day, didn't you?
Yeah. So the night before we had a ton of rain. I mean, a ton of rain. And I was just wearing my normal running shoes for the first day. Were just some mesh Noble running shoes, and I mean, I didn't know it at the time. Like I competed, we got done with the workouts, and we got back to the hotel, and I went to go clean my shoes because they were just full of mud. And I looked down at them, and I'm not lying to you. There was like a 4-inch slit on the side of one of my shoes. I could literally stick my hand right through it. I'm like, well, I can't compete in these. And luckily enough, there's a Bass Pro Shops right across the street. So I went over there, and I actually ended up meeting Justin over there. And because me, him, and Luke were going to go out to dinner that night. And we ended up meeting at the Bass Pro Shops, and me and him picked up the same pair of shoes because he didn't blow out his shoes, but he didn't have any like trail runners, which funny story about that. Jeff Cordero told me 2 weeks before the event, hey, you might want to get some trail runners or some type of trail shoes. I was like, nah, I don't need those. I'm good, man. I got my normal workout shoes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for that advice.
Yeah.
I did not
take. So, and we've brought up Jeff a couple times for people that maybe this is your first time listening in. Jeff won the first year's November Knockdown Challenge out at Sal's farm. So we went out to Sal Forcella, the president of First Form, and
great dude.
And we went out to his farm. Dude. Yeah, he's awesome family man. You can tell he's got all the stuff set up for kids, and his family could tell that's his happy place is going out there to that farm. And so when Jeff said you needed trail shoes, he wasn't kidding. There was a lot of wet ground. Yeah.
Whatever that man tells me for here on out, I'm going to listen to him.
So you go, and this is the other thing too, guys, is that it was really interesting to see you and Justin and Luke hanging out pretty much the entire time. Obviously, you guys interacted with a bunch of the other competitors, but even from the get-go, you guys respected your level of competition and recognized that you were gaining ground and getting into that top 3 competition. And I'll just say it from my perspective, like I fully expected to see from the men and from the women's side, those top competitors to kind of separate themselves and to start getting into their own heads and their game plans and focusing and not going around and enjoying spending time with each other. And the women's side as well, you guys, the top competitors just kind of meshed and stuck together and talked and were sharing even tips and things that you did and things that you learned. And it was kind of crazy to see that because, again, in most competitions, at least you would think you'd start to separate a little bit because you don't want to share with your competition. But in this case, it was the opposite. And it was really cool to see that. And so anyway, so you guys go out, you get your shoes after you've blown your shoes out. So you guys are racing in brand new shoes. And again, guys, these aren't the little short workouts like you had during the qualifiers. This was long runs, heavy weights, devil presses in the mud, things like that you had to do. So it wasn't like buying new shoes wasn't a factor. That definitely would play a factor into anyone's competing in this event. So you went out, grabbed the new shoes, and what was your hardest event that you remember out of all the workouts and everything that you did? What was the hardest one for you?
The sandbag workout, the second workout, That was hands down one of the most miserable workouts I've ever done in my life, because I didn't expect every single guy to not put that sandbag down for that walk or that carry, right? So it was, if I remember correctly, it was 4 rounds. It was 20 sandbag over the shoulder, and then a sandbag carry that was about probably 300 yards, and then you had to take 2 shots.
I'd
Everyone
say
came out, and
I'm trying to think. It was, I can't remember the exact measurement, because so I was out there getting everything set up, and I was like, man, that walk, it's got to be at least 2 football fields one way, and you had to go down and back. So I would say total distance was probably closer to 400 to 500 yards total.
You're probably right.
And that bag was 100 pounds for the men, and I can't remember how much for the women, but it was an extreme amount of weight. So 20 over the shoulder sandballs, and this walk, guys, again, was on grass, so it's not hard concrete. You're losing energy every time you take a step because it's soaking into the ground. You walk downhill to start, so it's almost a false hope because it feels good walking down. And then as you're coming back, about halfway back, there's just just enough gradual incline to get you back to the concrete. And none of these men put their ball down. That's 100 pounds of wet sand that was over the shoulder 20 times, and then walked 400 to 500 yards without dropping it. Like that was insane to watch. That was just, you could tell you guys went to your dark places during that workout. That was a grinder.
The hardest part about it, not only mentally, but it was the grip, right? Because you have the sandbag, but most of the guys had it on their back, right on the base of their neck, and you're holding on to it.
Yeah. And there's no handles.
There's no handles. So you're just basically gripping with your fingers. And when I shoot a hinge. So trying to manipulate a hinge while I literally could not feel my grip. Like trying to manipulate that hinge without being able to feel my grip was one of the hardest things I've ever done, which is funny. I shot the best on that workout, which I have no idea how. I have no idea how I shot the best on that workout. But it was funny. After we got done, we're all sitting against the barn underneath the little gazebo. And all of us were just like, check out my forearm. Yeah. All of our forearms were just freaking blown up. And I mean, that workout was brutal. It was brutal. And that last little bit you were talking about, that last little bit up the hill before we got to the concrete, I remember AJ yelling at me. He's like, come on, you're almost done. Pick it up. I'm like, bro, I'm going, this is like 110% for me. I was like, I got nothing left.
Yeah.
And then like when you drop that ball, like I was just rolling it off my back onto the concrete. It was almost like my whole posterior chain would just lock up. I'm just like, oh, that doesn't feel good. But yeah, man, it was a brutal workout. It was brutal. We made everything after that seem fairly easy until I got to the last workout. That last workout was pretty But I mean, going back to what you were saying, like me, Justin, and Luke, like how we were hanging out the whole time, which going back and looking at it, like, yeah, we were sitting there talking to each other how we're going to go about the workouts. And keep in mind, like, this is for $10,000. Like, it's not like you're just getting like a pat on the back, like saying good job and a couple prizes. Like, this is for a lot of money. And the fact that the 3 of us were sitting there the whole week along with everyone else, but that we were sitting there sharing like, oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, I'm going to do that. It's like, it's kind of cool looking back at it. Like the camaraderie that everyone had. So it was pretty cool. Right. I mean, I made a lot of good friendships that weekend.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And it was definitely cool to see that. And again, genuine relationships being built while you're out there. I think that was a big deal for a lot of people. And again, it just incorporates for me that each of you guys live the standard, whether you were new to First Phorm or not. Some of them, like Luke was a First Phorm athlete on the CrossFit side of things. And there were some people that were trainers for First Phorm that were there. Whether you're in the ecosystem or not, you guys all embodied those values that First Form puts out there, and you don't work at headquarters. And that's another thing too that stood out to me was you couldn't have picked a better group of individuals to come across the nation to meet up and to enjoy that camaraderie and compete. And again, that just describes to me First Form is, they're going to kick your butt with, if you go and visit and you work out with one of the team workouts, you get your butt kicked, you're left wanting to puke or whatever while you're doing that workout, but then they lift you up afterwards, and there's a camaraderie there. It's like a good sibling rivalry where it's like, I'm going to kick your trash, but we're going to be good friends afterwards, and we're going to learn from that experience together. And if you win, I'm still going to want to beat you next time, but I'm going to respect that you won and not trash talk you or whatever, So it was cool to see that from, again, people that weren't from headquarters or all in the ecosystem to begin with, that you all embodied that as competitors. So that the last workout, I'll tell you, you cruised, if I remember correctly, that last workout was the one that had the steel bison, correct, as one of the shots.
That was the second day of the very first workout. That
was it really?
Yeah. So that was the one where we went off in pairs.
That was the long one.
That was a long one. So, well, I feel like they were all, to be honest with you.
Oh, no, I remember the last one. The last one was the carrying the weight and the water, the sled. Okay, yeah. Okay, so the bison one was the second on the first day.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the first one on the second day.
Okay.
It was the morning because we were paired up with our rankings after the first day. So it was me and Luke went together on that one. And then I think it was Justin and I think maybe Brandon he ran with. I can't remember who he was with. But I mean.
Yeah, Ashley, I think it was, or was it Lucas?
Yeah, it may have been Lucas.
It might have been Lucas. Either way, but yeah. So yeah, so we had the heat set up, thinking, okay, these guys are fast again. Kyle's up there. And again, guys, Luke he went to the CrossFit Nationals. Like, this dude he trains for a literal living. That is what he does. And so those two guys were going first. We had, I can't remember the exact time that we had planned for you guys, even as the faster ones, we kind of thought you would hit within the certain range, and they blew the time out of the water. Like, the way these guys took off when Jake shot the shotgun, I was like, what in the freaking heck? And Luke is a little bit shorter than Kyle, and so he was taking a few more steps per Kyle's long stallion strides that he has, being the 7-foot human that he is. You do what?
I got long getaway sticks.
He really does. But they were keeping pace, and so we were listening because you could hear the bison from the start line. And so we heard one ding, and then we didn't hear another one. And I'm like, man, is Kyle that far behind Luke? Or, because or the other way around, maybe Kyle missed and Luke's way behind. And you guys come around the corner. I'm like, holy crap. Like, seriously, the time was just blew my mind how fast you guys got through that. And you were one of, I think, 3 people total that actually hit the bison target. So it was like a 40-yard shot after you'd done devil presses and a bunch of other running and stuff. And you had a workout to do. And then you had the option to shoot the bison, which is a steel bison with a circle that was maybe 10 inches. I think it might have been smaller than that, at 40 yards.
It was either 8 or 6 inches at 50 yards.
50. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So there you go. Yeah. We'll be conservative and say even 8 inches at 50 yards. Most people can't do that when they're not at a high heart rate, and you guys have just done a crazy workout, and you hit that, which gave you -1 whole minute off of your time, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Which is the only reason I remember it was 50, because I was shooting low all weekend. So I ranged it at 50 and I dialed to 54. So I dialed higher than what it was at. So that way, since I remembered I was shooting low on everything, and I don't know how I ended up hitting that.
Wow.
I did.
That's got to be nerve-wracking.
Which is crazy because Luke still beat me in that workout, even with my -1 minute, because he shot so much better than me on all the other ones. He shot lights
Yeah.
out on all the other ones. And I mean, I shot decent, but he shot amazing on them. And so I needed every bit of that. And that workout running with Luke, it was so cool, man. Like when we first started out, we were running and like Luke goes, he's like, all right, let's take this first part easy and then we'll pick it up towards the end. And like I tried to respond to him, but I'm already out of breath trying to keep up with him at this point. And I don't we go up this first little incline and it's still a little damp from 2 nights prior. And he slips in front of me and I'm like pushing him. I'm like pushing his butt, trying to get him up the hill. And we make our way there. I end up getting in front of him and I'm running up the hill and I slip. And as I slip, he runs around me. I'm like, dude, come on. I helped you when you slipped and you just run around me when I slip. Yeah. So it was cool. Like he had to remind me of that because I didn't even remember that happening. Like it was, I was just in the zone during the workout. Then after, I was like, oh yeah, you did do that. Which is funny because we were literally step for step. And then we got to the man makers and I never saw them. Or the devil presses. Yeah. Devil presses. I never saw them again. I was like, wow.
So for people that don't know what a devil press is, I think they were 50-pound dumbbells too. So yeah, 100 pounds total in the mud. And you guys, I'm just going to say it because you went first. It was a little less muddy, just a little bit. You guys, but as people were going through, it was getting torn up. So 2 50-pound dumbbells. And what you're doing is basically a burpee with the dumbbell. So you go down, do a push-up, right? If I remember correctly, do the push-up. You come up, you bring it up to your shoulders, and then you have to shoulder press it, put it back down, do the burpee, come back up, and that is rough. And again, you guys have already done, what was it, 5 or 6 other workouts before that in that loop. Yeah. So
and he
a little crazy.
That's when Luke basically gained all of his distance on me. And then I actually caught him as he was working on the next one because that was the bag hoist where we had to hoist the bag up and then bring it back down. I caught him when he was in the middle of that. And then after he shot, he hit the bison and I shot. And right as my release went off, I literally turned and started running. And then as I'm already like turning, like I hear everyone behind me. I didn't hear the steel. I'm like, did I miss? And then everyone starts going crazy. I'm like, no way did I just do that. So I start running as fast as I can because I'm like, I need to catch him. As I'm running, my rangefinder pops out and it's on a tether. So I grab the tether. I try to pull it to me, pops off the tether. I'm just like, this is not going good. So I run back, I grab the rangefinder and I just start running because I thought we only had like a 200-meter run. All the way off. It was like 400 meters. And I'm just like, I'm hurting right now. I think I ended up finishing like 45 seconds behind him or maybe a minute. And that was, it was a really fun workout. Like it's one of those workouts that can't be replicated. It can only be replicated in that environment, on that field, in that farm. It was really cool. It was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's awesome. So all of that, there was a ton of workouts. We won't go through every single one of them. But again, you guys were neck and neck, again, competing just to the fullest. And then what did you feel when your name got announced as the one who won the overall knockdown challenge?
Gratitude. Like, I just think about the guys I was competing against. Like there were just absolute studs out there. Like everyone that competed out there were absolute studs. From whether you were on the male side or the female side, you were a stud just to make it that far. And from the male perspective, there was 2 guys that had been to the CrossFit Games. So you had Luke that had gotten there the year before, and then Bryce Collier had been there on the team. I can't remember how many times. I didn't know that until after the fact that he'd been there on the teams before. And then you had Justin, who's a year after year after year semifinal athlete. So he's a stud too. And then you have the other guys that did the same competition the year before. So I mean, all these guys are just so much experience and so much knowledge and so many reps. So when my name was called, I was like, this is unbelievable. It's like, I guess I'm not average, right? I guess I am like a pretty fit person might have a screw loose in order to do the things I do. But you know what? It's like all the hard work I put in, like it's paid off. Like this is the reason why I work so hard is for moments like this. So it was, I still can't believe it happened. Like, I mean, it happened what, 6 months ago? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's still blowing to me. And I have the little placard with our names on it. That's in the gym. And then my check, the big check, they first form mailed it to me. That's in my gym. So like I look at it every day and I'm just like, how? Like, how does that have my name on it? Because after that last event, I'm like, Luke came up to me. He's like, you won. I'm like, shut up, dude. I'm like, no, I didn't. I was like, you won. Like, you shot much better than me. Like, you won. When they called my name, I'm like, this is unbelievable. Like, this is pretty cool. Like, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
It's funny because I
Yeah.
called
No.
my wife, or I sent my wife a picture of the check, and that was all I sent her. I didn't say anything, just the check with my name on it. I was like, I can't believe this, and she's like, I can. She's like, I didn't have a doubt you were going to do this. I'm like, how did like me like going to it? I told my wife, I was like, I'm just going to go there for fun. Like, I'm just going to tell myself I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to try my hardest, and I'm going to have fun. But she's like, no, you're not. She's like, you're going to get there. That switch is going to flip, and you're just going to go into that normal mindset that you have. And she was right to an extent, right? When that shotgun went off, yeah, I flipped that switch, but in between that shotgun going off and the workout not um, being full tilt, like I was having a good time. I was talking with the guys, hanging out with the guys. Like I was having fun. You know, it was a very low stress environment until we got repped for that last workout. I mean, that's when the stress kind of ramps up a little bit. But I mean, I had a blast, right? It was so much fun. And it's something I'm always going to remember, right? I mean, it's something that I'm always going to treasure. And I still can't believe that I came out on top at the end of the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was such a cool experience to see that and again, just there's so many things about it that are hard to put into words, but I'm really glad that again the competition went the way that it did. The people that were there just top-notch individuals and really excited to, to have you all as part of the First Form community. With that being said, let's wrap this up here with your first off, how did you find First Form? And then give us your top 3 reasons if someone were to walk up to you and say, "Hey, give me your elevator pitch as to why you're choosing First Form over all the other options that you have out there as far as supplementation goes."
How did I find out about First Form? I think I've known about First Form for a long time, to be honest with you. Like, I've known about them for a while, but I didn't try their supplements till probably 2 years ago. And about the time when I started trying their supplements, is that's when I started seeing about First Phorm Outdoors. And that's when I saw Jake, I saw AJ, I saw you. And that's when I started like talking to you guys, like, hey, like, what is this about? Like, what's First Phorm Outdoors about? And I had a call with Jake. It was probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. And he's like, hey, this is what we're about. We're about basically what I told you at the beginning, like changing the stigmatism of hunters, changing it to where we don't eat Little Debbie's, we don't drink Coors Light, like we take health and fitness seriously because this affects us as human beings. This makes us better men. Like that's what First Form Outdoors is about, and not just the outdoor section, but just First Form in general. Like every single person I met from First Form, they're just salt of the earth people. And like my wife actually, she became friends with um, a girl who was a trainer at her gym, and she's actually a First Form trainer. So like getting to know her better, I'm just like, man, this community is awesome. And if someone, if anyone asks me like, hey, what supplement should I take? It's like, well, first thing I can tell them, hey, make sure your diet's in check, because at the end of the day, supplementation is supplementation.
Mm-hmm.
But if you need extra protein, if you need a daily multivitamin, hands down, First Form is what I'd recommend. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a part of them. I was very skeptical when I first started taking their products because I was in a journey where I could no longer do whey protein. I was doing vegan. So I started doing First Form, and Jake was like, "Look, I want you to try Formula One. Just give it a shot. Like, if it starts upsetting you again, like old way, he's like, then go back to the vegan stuff. He's like, but our vegan's also really good too."
Mm-hmm.
So I ordered their vegan and I ordered First Form. So what I was doing, I was alternating days. One day I'll take vegan, one day it was Formula One. I was just rotating that. I'm like, okay, I have no issues. So then I started like 2-in-1 and then 3-in-1. Now all I do is the Formula One. I don't even do the vegan anymore because the protein is so pure and it's not filled with all the other crap that all the other protein powders have. And like, I went on vacation last week before Thanksgiving and I didn't bring any of my multivitamins and I was like thrown off. Like my body, like I could literally tell I did not take my multivitamins, and like their products are phenomenal. And I do not rep any products that I have not tried myself, that I have not put through the paces. So it's hard to knock First Form, right? I mean, everyone can say, "Oh, well, they're just a big name that they're just trying to take your money." Like, no, like they're a legit company. And like how we started this out with going to HQ, I got to see it firsthand. I got to see how every person in that company that I came across, how nice they were, how they only wanted everyone to succeed. The gym, I mean, shoot, I almost felt bad working out in the gym because I didn't want to touch anything because everything was so perfect. The manufacturing facility, like same thing within there, like it was just clean, it was nice, like it's just a top-notch company. Like how can you not support that? Not to mention they have the biggest American flag I've ever seen in my life. Like how are you not going to support that? So it's a
And I'm
no-brainer.
I'm trying to remember if they told that story or not, but and I may misquote this, so guys don't quote me on this. I'm not Andy. I don't have all the stats
Yeah,
memorized, but I'm pretty sure that the size of the American flag that they have hanging up in their fulfillment center is the same size as their first headquarters location as far as square footage.
that's correct.
And that, yeah. And so, and every
Mhm.
morning at, I want to say it's either 9 or 10 a.m., they pause what they're doing, they play the national anthem, and everyone
Mhm.
goes in there for the national anthem. So it's pretty awesome. They don't, Andy's not just full of hot air. Also, if they're still available, these shirts right here is what Andy was talking about with his Real American Christmas shirts. He definitely lives as an American and he wants his company to be as American as possible. Everything done here. They can tell you where they get the milk for the whey and everything, all their meat sourced and everything like that for the meat sticks. It's a very high quality company and they live the standards through and through. And with how immaculate Kyle is saying the gym was and the facility was, and I know other people have mentioned that as well that have come on the podcast, but there's no cleaning crew at First Form headquarters. They hold themselves to the standard of they pick up their trash, they put the weights back, and they put them back properly where all the symbols are the same. They wipe down their equipment. They take care of the bathrooms. Like they've got everything top notch because they respect what they have there at the facility. And if you don't, they definitely make sure you understand that you need to respect what they have. So
Oh yeah.
yeah. So you'd say, the quality of supplementation. So I love that what you mentioned, you used to have gut issues with whey. Now you found with Formula One and the microfactor, which is the daily supplementation of vitamins and minerals. Those are things that you use on a regular basis and you don't have any gut issues with the Formula One. What would be, and I'll just kind of fill in your number two was community because you've brought it up quite a few times. I hate for you to have to repeat yourself, but just the camaraderie community that you find in the First Form ecosphere. Whether you go on the First Form Outdoors Facebook group, which is an amazing place that I recommend people go and check out. It's obviously free. You're going to meet a lot of people that use First Form supplements, are part of the First Form community, and who knows, you might even find your next hunting buddy or fishing buddy or whoever. And what would be your number three? So you said quality of the supplementation, the community. What would be your number three reason why you choose First Form over any other company out there?
Patriots. 100%. Like there's too many fake companies out there these days that just don't claim to be patriots. You know what I mean? It's like, I love this country. And any company that starts every single day with the national anthem, like, take my money, right? I want my money to go to that stuff because that's what I believe in. And more so than just the country, it's about God too, right? These people put God first. And I mean, if you put God and country first, you got my paycheck, right? It's a no-brainer. So, I mean, yeah.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the patriotism behind the company is just, you can feel it
100%.
there. They genuinely want America to be better. And I love, again, if you listen to Andy's podcast, the Real AF, which I was shocked when I found out that it's not real as Frick, but it's Real American Freedom is
Right.
what the podcast stands for. And Andy lives that to a T. And he's very good at, people may listen and be like, oh, he's pro Trump or this or that. He calls out BS wherever he sees it. And he just wants he wants his company to be better. He wants communities to be better. And he wants each and every one of us to be the best version of ourselves. And that's why he says, the greatest way, I'm going to butcher this, the greatest ultimate rebellion is personal excellence. That's what it is. Personal excellence is the ultimate rebellion. And
100%.
so if you want to be the best version of yourself, physically, mentally, emotionally, for your family, for your loved ones, for your community, for your business, that's what they encourage there at First Phorm. They live it through and through. So with that being said, is there anything else that you wanted to bring up before we wrap this up here, Kyle?
Oh man, I'm good. I think we covered most of it. And
Well,
I
again,
appreciate you, Jonathan. I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk with me. I know we kind of had a hard time connecting. I mean, it was a long time coming. I'm so glad we got to connect because I mean, I've met a lot of people on social media, but you really don't truly know what a person is until you meet them in real life. And when I met you in real life, you are the real deal. And I appreciate you through and through, man. You're a good dude.
I appreciate that, Kyle. I really do. Honestly, guys, if you want to follow along with Kyle's journey, what he's got going on, I recommend you go and check out Kyle's page. I'll leave the link down below. And also go find us over at First Phorm Outdoors Facebook group. It really is a community where people share their questions. You don't feel stupid asking questions. There's a lot of knowledgeable people in there. There's a lot of newbies as well that are learning new things. And that's a great place to find information. And again, not feel like you're being berated or asking a dumb question. And you're going to get to know a little bit more about why other people enjoy First Phorm. Again, we've had an entire year of why First Phorm Outdoors. You've heard from people such as Kyle here, who's won the Knockdown Challenge. You also have heard from the women's winner recently of the Knockdown Challenge. You've heard from people that have been in the ecosystem for a while, such as myself and AJ Kaz, the Coffee Viking. You've heard from Jake Arvold. You've heard from so many different people that you get to have these different perspectives as to what First Phorm means to each and every one of these people. So I highly recommend you at least try it. I mean, what's it going to hurt, right? We even have 110% money back guarantee. So if you've had issues with whey before and you try Formula One and it gives you gut issues, you can send it back and we'll make sure you're taken care of. So all of that being said, if you have any questions, feel free. I'm going to offer Kyle's services. Feel free to reach out to Kyle, and you can also reach out to me and ask me anything from gear related to First Phorm related to the outdoors to supplementation and everything in between. With that being said, Kyle, I really appreciate your time today. And next time I'm out in Florida, we're going to have to maybe, I don't know, smack some hogs or something like that while I'm out there.
Absolutely, man.
So,
hey, man, door's always open.
Heck yeah. Love it. Love it. Awesome, guys. Well, again, tune in to the next episode of the Why First Phorm Outdoors podcast and all the previous ones that we've had throughout this entire year. There's a playlist here on YouTube that you can check out, get to know everyone from the men and women, archers, anglers, people that just enjoy pounding the pavement outside, which again, I will swear up and down, need to go see a therapist if you enjoy that so much. But with that being said, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. And like I always say, get out, live your life, and love it.